Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy El Tiger, and today I woke up feeling like a
Real bad man.
and I proceeded to go on TikTok, because that's what I usually do in the morning. And like most of the time, the first thing I saw was some absolute nonsense. I on the video.
How far would Gojo last in each anime series? So let's start off Naruto. How far would Gojo last in Naruto?
He won.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I think he's mopping everybody.
See, what we're not gonna do is say that the guy that doesn't even have a country level feat beats the guy that has continental to multi-continental to moon level to planetary level statements slash feats. The guy that has consistent light speed feats compared to the guy in his own voice doesn't even have a solid massively hypersonic feat, aka Gojo. By the context of this video, you can probably tell by now I will be scaling Gojo. I'm gonna let my intro run, sit back, relax, like and subscribe, and let's just hop into it, shall we? See, now let me make one thing abundantly clear. I'm not necessarily saying that Gojo is weak in his own voice. Believe he's 100% the strongest. There's too many statements to go along with that. But what I am saying is when we go to the cross force, for people that don't know what I mean by that, I mean comparing two different universes. For example, if I were to say Dragon Ball voice and Naruto voice, I think it's common sense. The Dragon Ball voice is just much stronger. And I think it's the same thing when it comes to Gojo. I think people think of his abilities as really OP, therefore he just doesn't lose. Which, in this video, I will explain why he's actually much weaker than people tend to believe. So first off, let's talk about speed. Speed is probably one of the most important and one of the most deciding factors when it comes to a 1v1 fight. And when it comes to majority of the more popular forces out there, for example, the big three, aka Naruto, One Piece, and Bleach, these are forces that have gone light speed and above a long time ago. And people have a tendency to say that Gojo solos all three. So let's talk about his speed. After rereading the entirety of Jujutsu Kaisen in the past 2 days, I've come down to the conclusion that just the voice itself really isn't that fast. Now, I'm going to show you a few statements in a moment, just showing what the speed should be about. Alright, so the first good speed feat we have for Gojo when it comes to the series is in chapter 14, when he goes against Jogo. During the fight, it's shown that he's able to dodge, react, and even outpace Jogo. What's important about this is Jogo is able to use explosions that also include sound. For those who don't know, sound obviously moves at the speed of sound, otherwise known as Mach. Even doing some quick research online about how fast explosions can move, the fastest explosions I did find moved around about 2.5 Mach. Just for the sake of it, if we were just saying that he's around 2.5 Mach, and if one wanted to use the argument that because he's using course energy, it would probably be faster than that. And so, lowball was saying that Jogo's explosions are able to move around 3 Mach. Gojo is able to dodge and react to these point blank, therefore he would need to be much faster than that. Lowball, once again, he would at least need to be at least 2 times faster. So during this fight, you can scale him around 6 Mach, which realistically speaking, that's only about hypersonic, which really isn't that fast. Another way you can scale his speed, which this is my personal way of scaling him, which I think is just a little bit more concrete. You can scale him off of Toji, and you can scale Toji off of Maki. Maki is shown to be able to outpace Noye in the for future. Noye in his course form is stated to be able to move at 3 Mach. So if Maki is able to move faster than that, that low ball, she would at least be about full mark. At the end of that fight, I believe it's chapter 187, it's just straight up stated that she's on Toji's level. As you guys should know, a young Gojo and Toji, you can definitely make that argument that they were relative in terms of speed. So you can definitely make that argument that when he was a teenager, that he was around full mark. When he's using his technique Hello Purple, it's shown that he was even able to blitz Toji. So you could argue that that move specifically is actually much faster than just full mark. Main point, as we know, he does get multiple times stronger throughout his years. So, you can at least scale him above full mark, which is still pretty fast. But once again, he's still in that hypersonic space in terms of raw speed. And just saying, for those who don't know, hypersonic is anywhere from 5 to 10 Mach speed. And like the last way you can really scale his speed is just to say that he's above everybody else in the voice, because it's just stated multiple times. And even everybody else, the statements putting them at subsonic, which is below Mach speed. There's Bloodshot, which is stated to exceed the speed of sound, but that still would put him in the supersonic category, which is still below hypersonic. So in terms of speed, he's not really faster than most voices out there. Even if you want to say he puts up his domain, and it is stated that you do get an amp to all your stats in your domain. It's never stated how much of an amp. So once again, even if you were to lowball it and say at least 2 times, and he's supposed to be around 5 times Mach, 5 to 2 equals 10, still in the hypersonic area. Still not that fast. And I'm aware that I am lowballing it. If I was trying to highball, just probably put him in hypersonic plus, realistically. But main point, he's really just not that fast. Alright, next I'm going to be talking about like how much he scales in terms of raw power. After that, I will be talking about his abilities, because I know a lot of you guys are going to be in the comments saying that how is he supposed to get hit, whatever, how is he supposed to get defeated if people can't touch him. But let's talk about power first. In terms of power, the best way to scale Gojo is just to say that he's much stronger than everybody else within his own series. And then just scale him off of those feats. The problem with that is all the feats that the other characters have within his own series, they scale from anywhere from town level right down to island level. And just to make that more clear, that means anywhere from building level to city block level, multi-city block level, mountain level, right down to island. Right, that's basically all it is. So anyone that's like large island to country to anything higher is automatically higher than Gojo. And yes, I do know that Gojo has never technically used all of his power, but that's not a problem. We have to go off what we know of him and what we've been shown by everyone in the series. And if he's stronger than that, that leaves Gojo at possibly large island level at his max currently in the series, and right now we're at chapter 218. So in terms of like raw power, he really just isn't that high, like period, like end of the conversation. Even if he were to use pixel scaling, which me personally I don't think pixel scaling is the most valid, it's still the same thing. It's still within that island to city level range. So realistically, he's much slower and much weaker than like most of the characters that's released in the past decade. And if you were to use him in a debate or just have a conversation about him winning against others, you're really just counting on his abilities. So let's talk about his abilities and why they're really not as OP as they're described as. So as one of the few techniques he has Coast Technique Blue, which basically pulls everything together, sort of like a vacuum, and pulls all the matter within his range. And then he has the red version of this, which does the very total opposite, basically repulses anything within his range. Then he has Hollow Purple, which is probably one of his most stronger techniques, where he basically combines blue and red, which is attraction and repulsion, and he shoots it like a singularity, which has the combined effects of both of them, which basically ends up deleting and completely erasing matter in whatever path he shoots it in. We see this during the fight between Adore, Todo, and Haname. He also has his 6 eyes. There's not much known about it so far. Only thing we do know is that Yuta states that it reduces how much course energy he uses for each technique. Basically, he's able to do a massive output without needing to take a massive amount of his energy, which is pretty cool. It's also implied that this allows him to see the world in a better perspective compared to others. Now moving on to his two most important abilities, which I think is what most people have been waiting for. The first one being Infinity slash Limitless. Limitless is basically a really precise manipulation of course energy at an atomic level to control space around Gojo. There's basically two ways to describe this. One way is by using the author's basically more somewhat easier way to explain it. He basically said that infinity works similar to Alkali's and the tortoise paradox. For those who have never even heard of that, basically imagine, let's say character A moves 100 meters, runs 100 meters, and let's say character B starts running, the second character A hits that 100 meters. When character B hits that 100 meters, character A is going to be long gone, and it just continues to be like that. So there's always this space in between the two. That's basically how the author tends to explain it. In chapter 13, the author uses the words convergence and divergence, and Gojo basically just brings that into reality. For those who don't know what that means either, divergence is basically just the math part about how much power he's using or how much course energy he's outputting, I should say, whereas convergence is basically the manipulation of the airflow, and for him specifically the manipulation of space around him. Hence why when something tries to come near him, it automatically slows down. So you can also think about it as if you're going for a walk and it's really windy outside and you're going against the wind, you're obviously going to start walking slower because you're going against the wind. It's very similar to that basically. Hence why when Jogo tries to hit him, his hand immediately starts slowing down. In really simple terms, it's really just fancy space manipulation. Yeah, I understand that that's just pretty OP in its own right. The problem I have with it is space manipulation isn't really that big of a deal. There's many characters that have some form of space resistance, space manipulation as well. Or is there some characters that can just straight up destroy space? For example, the Pokemon Pokia, or the captain of the Black Bulls, aka Yami. You know, there's characters that can just straight up destroy space, warp space, resist against space. It's not really one of those things that are rare, I want to say. And for example, let's say Gojo was going against another person that had space-time manipulation. At the end of the day, then it would really just be counted on who's faster and who has stronger control and who has a stronger output. And right now, as I explained earlier, Gojo's looking around Hypersonic, the Hypersonic Plus. Currently, it was scaling him above the forest. He's around the island level. So honestly, you just need to be about country level and above to have a stronger output, which really isn't that big of a deal. So I don't know, like, you know, there's characters that can definitely go one-on-one with him and take that W. For example, Sasuke, space-time manipulation, DMS Kakashi. Even the funny thing about that is, if I'm not mistaken, I believe there is a interview with the author of JJK where he forbidden the states that Kakashi would win a fight against Gojo. I might be mistaken about that. I might need to double fact check that, but I'm pretty sure that's true. Main point, any other character that has some sort of form of space manipulation, space resistance, or that can straight up destroy space has a very fair chance against Gojo. So in my opinion, I don't think Gojo is as OP as everybody thinks he is. Last but not least is his domain, right? His domain, aka the Unlimited Void. For one thing, it's a domain, which means it does amp up Gojo's AP and also amps up his speed. Second off, the best benefit would probably be that it always hits its targets. And the last but not least, specifically for Gojo, his domain basically is, in simple terms, a sensory overload. he basically sends a infinite amount of information towards the opponent's brain, which basically overloads it, which ends up, the final result ends up not being able to move, not being able to do anything for themselves. Which, for one, I'm not trying to hate or anything. This is definitely 100% pretty OP in its own way. I'm not gonna cap on that. But the problem I have with it specifically is that with this work against characters that have much higher thought accelerations than the characters that JJK do. To give you an example, let's use the character, I think a lot of people know him by now, Muru Tempest. And the slime voice, it's very common for characters that have a much higher thought perception, thought acceleration than basically everybody else. Specifically, Rumu, I believe he's able to think about 100 million times faster than I guess the average person. So would this also affect him to that limit? Would it even be a big deal? Characters that are even able to perceive things at a much higher rate, for example, like Goku, he can be on his own planet, yet be able to sense all the other planets, all the stars, another universe, for God's sakes. And he's able to process all that in a matter of seconds. With this move that Gojo has, would that overwhelm him? That's what I'm trying to think. Like, other characters that have much higher scaling, would this move really be that broken to those characters? Then again, I think I could talk about that for a long time, and maybe I need to do another video on that specifically. But main point, Gojo's domain is pretty powerful. I just don't see it working on every single character, especially those that have a very much higher tier level. So in conclusion, in my opinion, I still agree with I think Gojo is strong in his own voice 100%. Nobody's denying that. But if you want to talk about cross voice and you try to bring in other voices, I don't see him as OP as everybody thinks he is. Like, he's not that fast, you know. He's about hypersonic, the hypersonic plus. Even if I wasn't going off my own scaling, I use somebody else's scaling. The highest scaling I've seen is from VSBW, and they basically have him at massively hypersonic. For those who don't know, that's about 100 Mach, which one, even that isn't even that fast. Second off, I disagree because they basically have it off of pixel scaling, off Maki dodging a bullet, which is, I think, is very inaccurate, especially when Maki had trouble fighting against Mach 3, for God's sakes. So, you know, I think it's very out of line. In terms of raw power, everybody in his voice has anywhere from city level to large mountain level. And, you know, Dagon created that island. But, you know, I've had some people actually pixel scale the island, and I've had people try to actually reduce that feat to only small mountain level. So, you know, I'm just giving him island because I think that's at least as much as he deserves. And then Gojo would scale above that, but still island level isn't really that big of a deal. So in terms of AP, it's, you know, he's getting walked by like most of the characters that's been released in the past like decade. And then you really have his space-time manipulation techniques, which I've already gave you my opinion on that. If somebody has space-time resistance against it, or has a way to just destroy it, or, you know, has its own type form of space-time manipulation and go and gets 1v1 against Gojo, at that point it really doesn't matter who's faster / who has stronger output. You know, I don't think Gojo is as big of a deal as people think he is. You know, plain and simple as that. If you low-key watched all of this and you still think I'm just a hater just because I'm a hater, then that's alright with me. But at least, you know, give me a comment. Think I'm wrong, just like always, I'm willing to discuss it or debate it. You can join my Discord, the link should be in the description. And yeah, that's pretty much it. See you guys in the next video.